So this is a look at the 2025 Idea-ology Halloween release. And a lot of stuff is very familiar to many of you if you've been following Idea-ology, but there are some returns of favorites and there's some updates to some of our favorites that Paula and I did for this year's Halloween. I'm gonna start with the paper elements, kind of go more into detail because this is really where we focused our efforts on revamping the art, picking favorites, we snuck a couple of new things in, not a lot, just a couple of new, and then we'll go through all the little trinkety bits that we love. But this right here is this year's release, all right? So I'm just gonna, let me just throw this stuff in here, the smalls, and then I can get into the papers because I need to open the papers. That's why I said this first part of the live, I wanna spend more time going through the art of it. This way you kind of understand what has come out, what you might have, what you might want to stock up on, because seasonal is a one and done thing. Seasonal is the thing that, you know, when Advantis brings this in for Idea-ology, they brought in their inventory. Retailers have already been able to purchase it. A lot of them already have their orders, but once it sells out for the season, hopefully not for good. I'm putting out good juju into the universe because I want seasonal to come back every year, but you know, it's a big ask and I get that. All right, let's start with backdrops, our paper. So our backdrops paper, these are 6 by 10 inch double-sided cardstock. We went through really just the years of paper that we've done and we created our backdrops. Now, typically for Halloween in years past, in fact, I think the past few, probably from 22 on, we've actually put a year. So you were able to see like 2022 release, 2023, 2024. This year we did not put a year because, like I said, it may be the same next year. It may not come back next year. So we just called it Halloween because, well, this is our Halloween at this point. So what we did is we went through and we just started pulling out our favorites. And it was so fun to go through because, like, I love this one. This is a classic of the poison labels. We also added some things like, we love the brick. That was, I'm not going to go through each one front and back because you'll have to see the art to really love it. I love that we have the periodic chart. So that was new that we pulled in from fabric when we actually did laboratory. A couple of wallpapers. I love a lot of these classic ones. So you're going to see like the Harlequin came back. This is old school, but I love that Halloween party vibe. We have a couple of stripes in there. The cobwebs, I'm looking for one in particular and I'll probably find it at the end. Wood planks, ledgers, wallpaper, because we don't have worn wallpaper anymore. The crackle, entomology for the insects. Oh, I love this one, that cellular one. Maps, old grungy things, cigar boxes, wallpaper, florals. Here's another stripe. I do love that one as well. See, there's just cool stuff. And you'll see the nice thing, I love this grungy paper. The nice thing about this, there's the one I'm looking for, is that for Halloween, we really like to get our creep on because everyone's gonna make a little different. So there is some pattern stuff that even if you like the grungy side of things or a gothic kind of look to your makes, there's a lot of these designs you can use year round. I mean, even this like corroded kind of tin siding, this would just look cool even if you were doing like, you know, a Sizzix house. All right, take a look at this one. This is one I'm so happy that it was in paper because this of course was in a fabric collection and I just love that we have a sheet of this paper in there. So good. That's another classic cigar box. But see, even the staining in the old lace, gosh, we just love it. So we're very happy of what we chose. So again, a lot of these are going to be the same of what you have, which means it's going to give you peace in knowing that you can use what you have, but there's also just a couple, you know, new things in there that you're like, oh, cool. And some favorites that come back, you know, where you're like, yay, I've got those traditional Halloween ones. Okay. Large collage strips, nothing new here. We didn't want to change it. The art was perfect. Love the collage strips. So they are exactly as they were, but they're back this year. Collage paper, same thing. No changes from last year. Just brought it back. I'm happy that it made it part of this release because you can do some cool things with collage paper. You'll see that in the makes. The sticker book, we updated the sticker book. We not only updated, but we added some sheets to it because again, if we were going to do this, we wanted to really pack it in. So of course, the clippings, your favorites, they have returned. So these are all just little clippings from old books. So I love that. Dorothy liked anything spooky. Just great little accents that we can incorporate. Also, the sheet of couture. So if you're not familiar with this, I'll just kind of briefly share this with you. If you like paper dolls in Idea-ology, these elements are sized to work with the majority of the paper dolls. And that would be Halloween paper dolls or even everyday paper dolls. You can do top hats. witch hats, because even these stickers, you see they have that little cutout in there. That little cutout is so when you pull off this sticker, you have that little opening. Let me just stick this onto my finger. There you go. You can slide their head in that little slot, and then it looks like they're wearing the witch hat. So there's a couple of different sizes of those because paper dolls are all different sizes. Same thing with the masks. These will fit the portraits, so they have the little cutouts. And then these tiny little stickers are for the smaller paper dolls. So these are fun. I mean, I've even seen people use these masks for New Year's because it's great for masquerade. There's little top hats. And then these skulls actually fit over the faces of some paper dolls. So if you really want to get your creep on, you can take the skull sticker and place it over the face of the paper doll, and then they just look like, well, skeletons wearing cool clothes. All right, I got to get that little sticker off. There we go. This was something that we wanted to bring back, but we actually brought it back in a different way this year. So these are the daguerreotypes. I love all of these old vintage photos and these classic frames. So what we did different is actually took these stickers and created the die line between the portrait and the frame. When we had it in the past, it was just the whole thing. This time you can actually peel this off. So you get this cool frame to use, or you get these cool photos to use, or you can still stick them both together, or you'll see in one of Paula's makes where you can actually layer up the frame over the photo. But these photos, they'll fit a lot of different ideology frames and all types of things. So that's just kind of a cool feature, especially if you're just looking for these vintage types of frames that maybe you want to do something outside of Halloween. You can still use the frames separate from the portraits. So that's a little cut piece in there. Then we added this. This is kind of our answer to washi tape because we don't have any washi tape anymore, but we love these little border stickers. So these were inspired by all of the previous years that we've done tape. So you'll see that there's, you know, skull and crossbones, little stripes, the Harlequin. This is cool. These are 2 strips of a pinked edge. Remember when we did this in tape? It was years ago. But see, when you peel this off, you get that really cool black pinked edge, and there's 2 of those. And then these little labels. These labels will fit all types of things, including the little file folders that we have or any of the vignette card files. So I think that's just a great add for the stickers. And then these. I've done these for Christmas for many years, and I can't believe that we've never done them in Halloween. So I wanted to add that to the sticker book. And these, of course, are inspired by Label Maker. So you have a sheet of orange with white and a sheet of black with white. These are all individual stickers with that extra little buffer. So you can clip that little edge, do a little ribbon trim, or you can add some fasteners. But I love that now we have Halloween label stickers in the sticker book. So cool, right? So we have that. That's great. So that is our new sticker book for this year. And I'm going to touch base real quick on stuff that didn't come back, just so you guys know, because there is some stuff that's out there. All right, transparencies. These came back, no changes. So of course these transparencies, these are the stained shattered windows. There is a translucent spider webs, and of course these bat wings. And these bat wings, these are made out of transparency. You can heat them, you can mold them, but these also fit the paper dolls. So you can get your creep on and you see those little bat wings behind the paper dolls. Ephemera, gosh, this was a tough one because there's so much stuff that we loved in ephemera, and a shout out to Chris. We packed so much onto this template because Paula and I could not stop. There's a lot of poison labels. There's some small flashcards. There's a lot of botanical elements because a lot of people love like the dead and creepy roses and some of this greenery. There's a lot of smaller little elements in here as well. There's 137 pieces in this ephemera. And I think the biggest change that people have asked years and years to do are more of the mini book covers to create your mini books. So this pack has 18 of the mini book covers, more than we've ever done. So there's a lot in there. So just know that there's so many different elements. Also, you know, like I love a little gypsy in there. There's also just some really cool calendar dates, some vintage playing cards, some die cut ravens and owls, and it's just packed with our favorites. So just know that it's packed with our favorites. All right. Then we have layers and paper dolls. So here's again, we brought back some of the favorites. He is my absolute favorite of Halloween paper dolls, but we brought back some great creeps. We also added like the draperies. We brought those back in this purple. And I'm going to open this up because I want to show you just there's such great pieces in here, because layers and paper dolls, especially really any of these packs, I don't think you can truly appreciate what's in there if you're just looking at an image online. And I get it, they can only show you so much. And even when you see the scatter shot, you can't appreciate it. But layers and paper dolls, there's 67 pieces of here. So we have some of the florals. So these are the same florals that are in Ephemera, but layers, of course, is coated and a little heavier weight. We've got just some great different elements. They're all some bat wings. So just like the transparent ones, we have them in this material. So same thing, if you wanted to put bat wings, you know, on a paper doll, you can. And you can layer them, you could add glitter, you can tint, you can do all the cool things of this. But layers also contain some much larger pieces. So this is where things get really interesting when you're doing home deck pieces or you're working on canvas or big panels. That's the thing to know, especially from a scale perspective. Ephemera, besides it's uncoated and it's thinner, we try to keep things pretty small. There's a couple of larger pieces, but layers and paper dolls, we go really big. So, no, thanks. So we've got these big card backgrounds, cigar box. These are the drapery. So these are all die cut, so you can just pop these out. But we've got the curtains going both ways, so you can do it halfway over a box, or you can create something really large. There's just so many great things. This one's new. This I got from, I collect these from my friend Mr. Cup, who sells online. It's just these cool old passports, so we wanted to incorporate one into Halloween. It was just cool. I don't know what I would use it for, but I needed to put it in because I love the fingerprints and all of that. So I love that we were able to add that in. Also, just some big scenes. We've had that. This is one of my favorites. Look at this background. We've had this for years and it went away for, I think, probably a year. I wanted to at least bring back one of the cards. I love this moon one. Great for Halloween, but also great for Valentine's Day, because you can have a little paper doll sitting on the moon. Oh, it's just classic. I love it. But then we have some other, you know, odd pieces. There's also just some other little kind of scenes. There's Poe. There's these really cool spirally bullseyes in a couple of sizes. There's some die cut numbers. And you can see we've done some portraits, which are like the half size paper dolls, so they're a little bit bigger. We also have some larger paper dolls as well as small. Oh, look at her. She's fab. She's great. Like this little creepy girl. See, she's sitting, so she could sit on the moon. There's a lot of great different poses. So back to the paper dolls. We've added just, again, a lot of different creepsters. We have the couples in there. Of course, we have just the individual ones. He's very cool. Where do you see just how these are used? But that's the thing to note about when we do, even when we do seasonal paper dolls, there's just something about it that's just a little different that we like to put into certain themed packages. You know, they're not necessarily full-on creepy Halloween, but you can get your creep on. This one's just a great frame that also has a number in there. I mean, there's just great elements. There's a giant moon, just some cool pieces. So just know that this package has been updated. But there again, when it comes to kind of working with any of these elements, it's just something that you can clearly use what you already have, but just know that if some of your favorites are in that stash and you haven't used them, you get to know what's come back, all right? So there are the layers and paper dolls. Then we'll get into the baseboards. So the baseboards, these are printed chipboard, 36 pieces, so there's a lot of different quotes. Now the thing to know, and Paula called this out, so thanks Paula, because you'll see one on her make as well. This is of course printed chipboard, but if you don't like the sentiments here, you can actually use the stickers from the back of the sticker book and you can stick right over that because it's the same size. Look at that. So you can actually just cover that up with one of the stickers and it would still be on chipboard. So that's pretty cool just to know that if you wanted to customize from maybe the stickers onto the chipboard, you can do that. And this can easily be cut with scissors as well if you're going to do some different sizes. But it was really when it came into the panels, the planks, all of that we wanted to go crazy. You can see how packed this is. So there's some cool wooden planks. These are great. These are all die cut. So you can use nails. You'll see some of the great ideas for that. There's some signs. There's also some creepy windows, little asylum door. This is new. We did a new Gothic window. So this is a new piece in baseboards that we haven't had. Like I said, we snuck in a couple of new things. This is new. Love this bay window. It's so cool. Both Paula and I used it. So you can tell like it was a favorite. Paula used this one as well, but it's just, it adds such a crazy illusion to your makes. Absolutely love this. And then of course this piece came back and I was asked a lot about this piece as far as the Halloween class that I'm doing for Simon Says Stamp that sold out. This is the piece that is in last year's baseboards and this year's that is the same size. So if you missed out on the kit and you're looking to acquire supplies, just know that this year's baseboard will include that piece that we're going to use, and you'll see that make a little bit later. But yeah, a lot of cool baseboard pieces. But yeah, some new stuff. It's really, really good. You all right, Mario? Did you overcome your shock? Okay, good deal. Yeah, thanks. I'm just going to give all this stuff to Mario, and thanks for packing that up. You want the layers in there too?
Yeah, so I'll take it off.
Sweet, thank you.
You're welcome.
There you go. Okay, so far so good. See, there you go. I'll hand you that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mario. Okay, now let's get into the trinkety bits. And again, we're still covering like what we have that is part of this release. A lot of favorites came back. Some classics came back. Definitely some classics. But with that, you know, there's a trade-off. That's the thing to keep in mind. I mean, I know sometimes when we do re-release, everyone's like, oh, this needs to be on the next one. That's the thing. I wish I could say that there's another one guaranteed, but look, I'm taking it one season at a time. So trinkety bits are all the small little elements of ideology. This to me is where the magic is. And we're going to start with these guys. These are the jack-o'-lanterns. These are classic. We haven't had these, I think, for maybe a year or two of the ideology release. Now, in previous years, we had a wire handle. We changed it this year because honestly, I didn't see a lot of people using the handle. Most people just cut it off because you fill it with candy. So that's the big change that we did when we brought them back, is we're like, well, we don't really want the wire handle. And quite honestly, to bring them back again and do the wire handle was going to cost us so much more money because those were hand assembled. And I'm like, nope, they don't need it. So wanted to keep the price as reasonable as possible. So those came back. With that, of course, confections also came back. That's that little mix of the candy corn and the different candy sticks. I'll save these trims because I want to show you up close on those. Let's see. Bubbles came back. So these, of course, are translucent little spheres. They don't have any holes in them, but they're great for alcohol ink, but you can use all sorts of different things. People use these year round, but they only come out during the season. So bubbles are Halloween. Those are the translucent ones. And baubles, those are the pearlescent ones. Those come out at Christmas. And those did make a return. Drippy candles had a crazy surge this year. Could have been from the Christmas in July class, but drippy candles came back for Halloween. So these, again, make great Halloween, but also Christmas. These are resin candles inspired by Tammy B. I love the little drippy. So those came back. Skulls came back as is. Those are the new mini skulls. I can't believe how many different versions of skulls we've done through the years. Conservatory and graveyard came back this year. So these, again, resin pieces. We've got a cauldron, a couple of tombstones, a crazy broom. I love that with the resin handle. And then we have the little pillar, a couple of different urns. And then this piece could be used as a candle stand for the drippy candles. But all of these kind of come like pre-grunged. That's the great thing. They have this greenish kind of gardeny looking grime to them. But of course, you can add elements to it. You can add, you know, grit paste. So this is grit paste crypt. So you can see that it's already tinted to mimic this look, all by design. The cauldron, love that we've got, you know, the cauldron with the little feet. There's the broom I was talking about. Look at that handle. It's resin, but it's so cool. Anyway, so I'm happy that those elements came back. All right, let me move these pieces out. We'll get into some of the metals as well as bones. Oh yeah, the bones came back. I was talking about that at the beginning. So boneyard. So these are just plastic bones, but they're just plastic and you can grunge them up with all types of things. Different pastes. You can even glitter them and make sugar bones. I think it's just fun. Fun stuff to use. Then of course we have metals. So these came back. These are the Gothic gates. These are thin metal gates with a lock, a key, and a little bit of chain. So you can actually wrap the chain around there. The lock doesn't open. You just kind of slide the chain through the lock and key as you place that on. But yeah, they're great. So they're not overly heavy. So I like that you can glue them onto things. You can have them obviously this way. You can have them look like they're open if you just use them the opposite direction. They just love all of these trinkety bits. This was fun because when we were talking about words, it was a trade-off, I'll admit. I love the long word plaques that we did. I mean, I've used them pretty much most of my makes. I just love them. I don't know. I don't know if people didn't like them. We didn't bring them back this year. We brought back the shorter ones that have found objects, curious things, bone collectors. So these are great. And then we kind of doubled up on these tinier tags. We saw a lot of different makes using these because these smaller metal tags tie great around the bottles. They go on to paper dolls. I mean, there's all sorts of little elements that you can use these smaller pieces with. So did I stock up on the previous year ones? I did, because I like them. But it's a great pack because, you know, found objects, curious things, to me, you can use those year round. I suppose you could use bone collector if you're really creepy, but that's just a great one. But then this made me happy and sad at the same time. I'll talk about figure stands coming up next. They did not make it back this year, but I really love them and I love the concept. And I saw that the jack-o'-lantern figure stand was used 90% of the time last year. So he came back in this pack. This is just the adornments pack. This bat is a classic. I've had so many requests to bring this back. It fits on vignettes and panels. It's just a great, creepy Gothic bat, so it came back. Skull and crossbones. We haven't had these little Jolly Rogers for years in Ideology, so we brought these back. So there's 4 of them. They are great because you can adorn so many different things, but of course they also fit the tombstone. So you can glue those on either one of those tombstones and get your creep on with that. And then of course, the fabulous spiders. So these are really, really delicate little metal spiders, and they have a little hole there. So yeah, you can hang thread, string, anything with the spiders. So that was kind of our favorites of all of the Halloween charms. So that's why we did this adornments. And of course, one of the things when Paul and I were talking about it was, you know, there were some things that you were good with one of. I mean, you could argue that you would want a whole pack of each element, but it just didn't work that way. But it's like, we definitely want multiples of that and that. So we were able to pack that in. You know, believe it or not to get into all the nitty gritty, but you know, there's a lot of stuff that goes into creating product, not just design, but tooling, development, cost, final cost, retail, you know, and you just want to provide as much value as you can. So that, I think we achieved. All right. Then we'll talk about 3 little different trimmings. So this one came back. This is mummy cloth. Gosh, I don't even know how many years now this has been out. And I love that you guys love it. I love that you use it. I love that we have it back. So mummy cloth is just kind of this strip of gauze material. You can use it a lot of different ways. You can stain it with any inks or stains. You can put spritz on it. You can do all types of things. I've seen people wrap things with it, but one of the things that I think it gets used more than anything is how people just go in and like fray it. See how easy it frays? And then you can just add it to things to not only create texture. I've seen it used in botanical things, but it also just kind of makes a cool, like almost little spider webbing. You can use collage medium in there to stiffen it a little bit when you're using it in your makes, but it's just cool. And it only comes out at Halloween. I'm just happy that it made the cut to come back again because, well, it's just a great filler as well. Speaking of a great filler, and for those that have watched the previous Halloween hooplas, you're going to remember this, but I have upgraded this. So this is Fringe. So Fringe is made of crepe paper. It's not made of tissue, it's crepe paper. This year, I wanted to just, because we always had it in black and we had it in cream, but I wanted to really follow the Halloween traditional mix of it. So this one actually has orange sandwiched in between the black. So what this is, it is crepe paper, as I mentioned. It is layered together and then sewn. So it's actually stitched right down the middle. And then it's cut, is a little trim like about every 1/8 inch. So it's really kind of a fine little cut in there. You take the amount that you need. So there's like pretty much 2 different rolls on there, 2 strands. They're about, well, we say it's about 0.75 yards each because it's just ish, because it is paper. So see, it's got like a little stretch or a little give. You cut off what you want, whatever piece you want, because you're going to cut through the thread. And then here's what you're going to do. Hey, Mario, would you mind just grabbing me a pair of scissors right out of your drawer real quick? Because I don't want to do this whole piece, because you could, but thanks. You're welcome. I only fringe what I need. So let's just say you were going to put a little piece, like, I don't know, on a card or whatever. You just go in and you cut. You cut wherever you're going to cut. So like I said, it has that layer. So all you're going to do for fringe is you take the end like that, and first I just give it a squeeze, because you just kind of want to, you know, just break that up. And then literally in your hands, you just start rolling it into a ball. It's the craziest thing. And then you squeeze it and you roll it and you squeeze it. And before you know it, you have the most incredible Halloween festooning. And the more you work it, like the more you squeeze it and wrinkle it and roll it, you don't have to be aggressive with it, but that's what gets all that fringe to just fringe. And you can go in and squeeze it. Now, you'll see in Paula's makes when she used it, she actually used distress spritz over it, because I'm like, gosh, yours has like a little vintage kind of staining or sparkle. Look at that. That is pure Halloween magic. And she's like, oh, I used some walnut stain distress spritz over it. I'm like, oh, that's so cool. So you'll see that I actually even updated like a make that I did last year with this new one that I had black on. And I was like, oh, are you kidding me? This is full on. So not only is this great for utilizing in makes for cards or whatever, but even home deck. You know, you want to put this on a ledge around some of your, you know, candles or jack-o'-lanterns or anything like that. It's just cool stuff. So just know, because when you see the package, it's just going to look black like last year. But the fact that there's that surprise little orange layer in there, so exciting. Next thing is jute string. Now, jute string, when it came out in its time, it was only out for a season. We did it for Halloween and Christmas, and then it was gone the next season. But it is coming back for both Halloween and Christmas this season. I would have to say it's probably going to be a one and done again, but that's okay. At least I got it back one more, because now I can stock up. But I just like thin jute. You know, jute is that like fibrous, see? It's a very fibrous kind of rope, but it's skinny, all right? So this is just a twisted orange and black, and I love that it's got just that great vintage vibe. You can tie it around so many different things. You can wrap it around elements. You can use it on cards. But like I said, it needed to have more than its one season, but I will say that it's probably just going to be this year. Not surprised, but hey, now that you know, if you like this stuff, you can stock up. My favorite thing is on tags. You know, I love to do tags, and this is just because it's not super skinny like baker's twine. So I love the fact that we can just take that jute string, tie it around tags, and then the ends, because it is jute, you just push the end with your finger and see how it just frays. It's just cool. So I'm happy that stuff came back as well. And one thing to note about this, because this is hand done, okay, there is just kind of a difference in it. So you can see as you go through, sometimes the twist is really loose, sometimes it gets a little tighter, sometimes because of the material it gets a little thicker, like you can see in this black area. So I love the randomness of it as well when you go through it, that when you use it, it just looks like you personally kind of twisted it together. So I do love that. All right, so that's kind of the elements. I think I covered the element stuff, but then I'm going to talk about what didn't come back, because thanks, Mario. Would you mind taking this?
Sure.
Appreciate it. There you go.
Got it.
And I'm only showing you this not to make you sad, not to create a campaign. The products that I am going to show you, I just did a Google search. I saw that they are online in places, but I can tell you that it did not come back. So if you are a Halloween lover and a collector, or you planned on, say, buying the same stuff every year, just know that this stuff didn't come back, but it's available. So if you want it, now would be the time to get it. So I'm just going to set this over here. If you can just stay here for right now. Thanks. So first up would be this, and this would be Craft Stock Sparkle. This may not sadden anybody, but to me it did, because this only had 1 year. Craft Stock Sparkle is a craft paper with a printed sparkle finish. And so these were in plaid. So both Halloween and Christmas are retired. They didn't come back. What's great about this paper is that, you know, you can tear it, you can die cut it, you can punch through it. I just love that subtle sparkleness, but I also love the difference in plaids. And you get multiple sheets of all the different plaids. So you have this one, then you have this. This is great for not just Halloween, but like fall, autumn, because it just has great colors. There's that. And see, they all have that. If you have sparkle cardstock, then you know just what I'm talking about, because it just has that cool little, just that twinkle. I would say it's not really glitter, because there's nothing, this is totally smooth. It's a printed finish, but it just has that great sparkle. Anyway, did not come back, is not coming back. So if you like it, stock up on it, because this is just, it's really great for card bases, that sort of thing. Sticker book from last year. A lot of people like these little creepers. They're very creepy, but as you can tell from this year's sticker book, they did not come back, right? So We did 2 pages of those. So if you like these, you can identify it just by not only the year, Halloween 2024, but also those mugshots. So if you like these, as you know, they didn't come back in this year's sticker book, but I saw several listings online, several retail shops. I even see Simon Says posting links in here. This is another one. This actually hasn't been out for a couple of years, but I was surprised that I still saw stock out there. So these are the shattered windows like the transparencies that we did. But I remember the year that we brought this out, I had asked Advantage if we could do a full pack of just these windows. So there's 20 pieces of the windows in here, and there's 2 different cut styles, and these are translucent. So unlike the ones in Halloween that already have kind of the grime going down the side, these are great. And you might think to yourself, well, why would I want them in clear? Because believe it or not, these are great in Christmas windows, because it looks like maybe a snowball was thrown through there, or it just kind of creates an icy vibe, or you have like a Christmas tree sticking out of the hole. But it can also be used for spring or year round. But it's a product that was one and done from its start. When did these even come out? I'm just looking at the back. 2023, so 2 years ago. But I still saw stock of those. So if you're looking for just the shattered windows, a pack, there you go. Stock up. Collage paper. That hasn't been out for a couple of years, but I still saw it. This was a great Halloween one because it's got all those different, not only the gates, but the creepy colors and the lilies and all the flowers. And this, of course, is a continuous roll with the printing. We don't do collage paper like that anymore. So if you're 6 yards of it, so if you're looking for it, I saw that online. Test tubes, fun. I love the creepy vibe of test tubes. They're also really great. I remember one year just kind of skinny little freaks in there, but you can also fill them with candy, all types of things. They didn't come back. These haven't been out for a while. Here's a different version of skulls that I saw. I think these were probably 2 years ago, but these are skulls. So this is kind of like Boneyard, but these have a little grime on them. You can see some of the grime. And these giant skulls, and I say giant because they are. They're significantly bigger than the skull that we do now, but they're very cool together. And I know like Zoe Hillman loves the skulls, so I saw those available out there. And if you're a retailer and you have old Halloween, talk about it, post it. People are looking for it. So I think it's really important to just say, hey, we've got this stuff too. Another one, tiny lights. Halloween tiny lights, first time in, gosh, I don't know how many years. They did not come back this year. So the purple and green, yeah, they're not available. So if you love these colors, especially like that, because the purple is almost like black light-ish, yeah, you definitely need to get that. Yeah, you're right. Halloween tiny lights are gone. We still have tiny lights that are clear, but the seasonal ones are very, very cool, and neither Halloween or Christmas came back this year. So if you like that, and you'll see in the makes, we still used them, stock up. I've already expressed my sadness. It was a fun year. See, some ideas, they just don't last. You know, this only had one year, and that's okay. I got the Jack back in this one, but I still love that cat and I love the owl, but figure stands did not come. So if you like the figure stands, just even to look at them, definitely stock up because, and I'm telling you, it didn't come back because it also, this is not coming back, okay? I love these. I have a whole stash of them, so I was pretty happy. Shape seals. So these are like metal wax seals with that little Jolly Roger. I saw a lot of those online. Those haven't been out for a couple of years. If you just like the locks and keys, here's a whole pack. We did lock and keys before we did the Gothic gates. So if you're just looking for lock and keys just to put on things, maybe you do a lot of steampunk, or maybe you just want to add them. Remember, it's not a functioning lock, but it's got the grime in there, and it's just, there's 2 different sizes of this and some keys. So I saw these online. So they're just cool. Just think it's important to tell. You know, I never used to talk about retired stuff, and then I think it's been several years. Someone's like, I'd rather just know if it's not coming because it gives me the opportunity to shop. Okay, there we go. This is what I was talking about, peculiar and curious things. I use that even in my make for today. And then Haunted Memory. I loved this pack, but for whatever reason, and this is just from last year, it did okay. Now, if you got the kit for the Halloween class, you get a pack of these. But I love this one, but for whatever reason, maybe you guys didn't. So I love Haunted Memory. That's not even in this year's, and so neither one of these, but it's a great one. Cool stuff. This one, it's funny because actually Found Objects, Curious Things, and Bone Collector, these 3 are in this year's pack, but the Apothecary was not, and this is great if you love bottles. The other thing to note about older stuff is going to be cheaper. I'm telling you now, unless you buy it on eBay, then you're going to pay crazy money. But typically at stores, you know, like This, when it came out in its time, this was from 2022, this was much cheaper than, say, the metal today, because obviously prices go up and everyone knows the dynamic of that. So that's the other thing about some of this older stuff. The other thing I'm going to tell you, if you go to timholtz.com and you go to products and you go to ideology and you go to Halloween, I actually went in and updated the index to sort everything by year. So you'll see that this year's Halloween actually does say 2025. I've called out what's new with the new box. If it's not new, it's still 2025 if you know it came back. But everything below it, you can see what was 2024, what was 2023, what was 2022. And all of those products on the index are still around if you're looking for them, at least as of this video, I'll say, as of this live. Confections. Back in the day, we used to do confections of just candy corn and just the candy sticks and mint. So obviously you get a lot more of each of these in a pack. If you're looking to decorate, maybe you're going to do a garland or anything like that, I think it's a great opportunity to just buy bulk candy, if you will, of these. So if you're a collector of them, now's a chance to stock up on those confections. And I will finish with this one, Trick or Treat. I love it. If you've seen my vintage decor, I love these vintage inspired mache jack-o'-lanterns and cats. They didn't come back, but instead we got this guy back. So, I mean, I'm happy we got this guy back. They're all great, but there was just something vintage and cool about this. Did I have a bit of a FOMO on this? Yes, because was I prepared for these to not come back? I was not. Mario heard about it for well over a week, about like, I can't believe they're not coming back. I can't believe I can't have both, da-da-da. Like a toddler, right? Kicking and screaming. And then all I did, you put your money where your mouth is, and I placed an order. Yes, I ordered an entire box full. Why? Because I want to fill a cloche with these. If you saw last year when I did the Santa mug where I had a big glass cloche and I filled them with Santa mugs, I want to fill a glass cloche with these trick-or-treaters this year. And you know what? That's my business. I can do it. So, yeah, thanks. Simon says Sam had him in stock, and he's like, there's a heavy box. I'm like, I know what it is. Don't worry about it. Because, you know, everyone's like, oh, you're the designer. You have unlimited access. Nope. When it sells out even for me. So you got to just go, you got to go find it. So shout out to Simon Says, because they had him. And I was like, I'm ordering, I think it was like maybe 40 or 40 plus packs, because the closure is really big, but I love the display, and I'll enjoy it every year. So see, even though I'm not going to make, I mean, I did buy some extras so I have stuff to make with, but I just love the idea of a decor piece, okay? So I just want you to know when I say stuff is going away, it's not like, nah. It's like sometimes I'm very sad about it as well. So there you go. So shop.
Thank you.
Shop shop till you drop. Okay, let's get into the makes. We're going to talk about makes. Again, you're going to see some makes from previous years. You're going to see stuff from, I don't know, even some of the hooplas. I just wanted to bring back some of my favorites, and then we're going to throw in a few news. All right, so let's just start with these guys, because of course these are what I just talked about, the little trick-or-treaters. I shared this in a hoopla. I think Mario has the link. I think it was actually Ideology last year, Mario, if you have the link, in the Ideology Live. So essentially what I did is just found these little candle stands at probably the dollar store or the craft store. Put a little charm around it with some ribbon. This is what I was saying I updated, okay? So we're gonna also talk about not just the makes, but because it's Paula and I, it does give me a little bit more time to talk about what we used in the makes. And I think that sometimes when you see the inspiration, maybe there's a disconnect as to what we use. So I thought this might be helpful. Hopefully it is. It might be boring to some of you, but it was important to me. So these are Ideology display domes. These are everyday glass dome. It comes with a cork base. So the cork base is painted black and glued on here. There's our great little trick-or-treater. These are all the confections just glued around. They're a little glittered. These are the bottle brush trees. I've shown how to make candy corn trees. Candy corn trees, I think, was a hoopla from maybe 2023. So you can, Mario can post a link of that. So you can see how to do that. And then all I did was, you know, I just glued the back of the tree, and then I dropped in one of those little balloon lights. This way they light up. So, and I talked about that. Then we've got the glass. In here, I just slid one of the transparencies. So that's where, now you can see that little seam. I just slid one of the spiderweb transparencies in there, but this is where I updated the fringe. You know it. Yes, it had black on there. I ripped it off because, well, this to me is just old school Halloween. I love the vibe of this. And I love those little lights. And you can find them. I know a lot of shops sell just smaller packs of those lights, because you do have to buy, you know, if you shop for balloon lights, you usually have to buy a giant bag. But, you know, they last for a few days and then you just drop in a new one. So I wanted to show that make because, well, it's fun. It's a fun way to use a glass dome, even if you're doing this for like a mantle or table or your desk. And you don't have to stick it on the candle stand. You can just have just that dome sitting there. I just love the idea of it being kind of a riser. So it's very cool. And painting the cork base, that makes a big difference. All right. So can I hand these to you, Mario?
Sure.
Thanks. I don't trust myself with the glass because that's just me. All right. So another favorite, this is a make that Zoe Hillman actually created, and she made it last year and I kept it because, well, because I love it. So we actually traded. I sent her a Halloween make and I got to keep this one. So this one is done in the reliquary dome. So the reliquary dome and the display dome, these are both in Idea-ology every day. This one is round. This one is domed and flat. It's inspired by a vintage one. I love this because it uses not only the trick-or-treaters, but then also this new jack. And I love how Zoe went in and actually colored the candy. So this is why, you know, that black and white pack of confections that I talked about that I said you may want to stock up on. I think Zoe went in, and I know Zoe's in the chat. I believe she used alcohol markers or alcohol ink and a paintbrush, but she actually tinted these. So I'm going to just slide this off just to give you a look without the glare. Can you see how she added that little orange in there with the black? So she's got orange and black. That's just going in with alcohol ink or an alcohol marker. I love that. Oh, alcohol markers. Thanks, Zoe. But that's why you want to stock up on just a pack of black and white, because you can add a different color and still include the orange ones in the everyday. But here she used the upside down urn in conservatory. She painted it. There's the column in conservatory. Painted that as well. And then this, she actually has tiny lights. She carved out the bottom of that cork and inserted tiny lights. So take a look how those light up. Isn't that cool? So yeah, it's a fabulous make. So I'm like, I'm gonna display it for Halloween. I love it. So that's another idea that you can use the elements for, both old and new, and kind of mix it all in. So that's one of the things that was important about this live, is that creativity is timeless. I know people are like, oh, I want to see the inspiration. Well, I want you to see the inspiration as well and be inspired to actually make it, because there's so many great ideas out there. And I know that as creatives, we always run out of time. So I think seeing that idea, you may have bought that stuff last year and just didn't get around to making it. So I think that could be fun. Another reliquary dome idea is just creating something. Now, this is a bit janky. I did this one, I'm not gonna lie. It was just an idea that I had and I just wanted to see if it would work. So not my best work, but hey, I just wanted to go on and be like, how do I make a little ghosty? Because I wanted to put a ghosty in a reliquary dome. There's the Haunted Memory. So that is from the word plaques and tags from last year. That's why I love Haunted Memory. I did the same reliquary dome. I made the little ghosty. So this is just, you know, you go on YouTube and they're like, oh, take cheesecloth and put it in glue and water. That's what I did. But then I added, you know, some of the old flowers, little Idea-ology toadstool. I used the gates, because the gates you can just stick into the cork and glue that in. But I just had a lot of fun making it. And I wanted to do a little lantern, but I'll admit, I'm not going to do the tiny lights like Zoe did, because, well, that would have required more time than I had, although that would be cool. But I love these. I was running out of time. But I love these Idea-ology lanterns. So these are the lanterns. These are in the everyday line. They're great for Christmas, but they're great for all year. But what I love doing is I took one of those little balloon lights, put a little bit of hot glue, just a dot, so I could stick that right in. Now when I want to turn the light, I just pull the pin. That turns it on. I just hang it off of the gate, and then I can replace the glass. And now I have just a little cool lantern that'll last for about 3 days. If I want to turn it off, you can just take this little tab and insert it again. But then when it runs out, you just take a little plier and pop out that one and just tack in another one. But I love the idea that the light fit right in, because the bottom of this is open, because it is designed for tiny lights. Believe it or not, it is designed for that. I mean, there's actually even a little notch for the wire of tiny lights, but that little hole was the perfect diameter for those little lights. So yeah, but you need to, you know, obviously tack it in, or you could use tape, I guess, if you didn't want to use glue, but hot glue will pop off a metal really easy. So anyway, just another idea for a reliquary dome, and I love
the cutest little ghost.
I do love ghosties. It was fun. It was easy and just fun to do. So, you know, that's one of those things, out of sight, out of mind. Maybe you have a lantern. Maybe you bought one when they first came out, but you've never used it. Or maybe you had it, but tiny lights are just, you know, you got to figure out tiny lights. You got to drill holes and figure out how to wire it. But I think that little light, man, I'm going to use this trick for Christmas for sure. Just being able to add a little lantern.
I do love the black, painted black on the bottom.
Yeah, really, I mean, and you can see my fingerprints are still there because handmade. I know some people would finish it off, but it's like,
handmade, baby.
I ain't got time for that. I love the idea of, and then this is just taped on. So I just use foam tape and I just tape that on, and that's just distressed with some crayon. So yeah, a lot of fun. And I didn't bother to attach that because why? It can hang right off of the gate. And now when I want to turn it off, I can just slide that in, hang it back on the fence, and there we go. Little ghosty dome. Fun. Yeah, keeping it real, keep it authentic, right? That's what it's all about. Okay, moving on. This is a charming make that Paula did this year using the new jack, but I love how it's all glittered. Look how she glittered that. So this is done using rock candy. You can use glossy accents or collage medium to adhere the glitter, but I love how it's worn away. It just gives it such a nostalgic vibe, doesn't it? Then she also used it on the confections. There's the fringe I was talking about. I love how Paula used it, because Paula was like, I use fringe in like a weird way. I just use it as like a little filler. I'm like, I think it's brilliant because it adds a little bit of that color where you want it, but I just think the whole idea is very cool. These are the papers from Backdrop. See, we love having those traditional prints back. And this, of course, are 2 vignette boxes. So you're going to see a lot of stuff with vignettes. And like I said, in this live, I want to talk more about the materials that we use, because sometimes, you know, when you look at this, if you're not familiar with the world of ideology, you don't really know what was used. So vignettes, we have a lot of different sizes, and you're going to see. She used the squares, 2 of them, flipped them over, so actually made a really cool base. There's the trick or treat where she used the sticker and actually added it to a baseboard, because there is no printed trick or treat baseboard, so that was brilliant. I love how she used the planks from baseboards to create like just a little floor for everything to sit on. Isn't that wonderful? And then take a look at these trees. I know the video is never going to do it justice, but I'm telling you in person, this has the best iridescent little shimmer. And I go, did you use snowflakes on black? And she goes, I did. So these are the new snowflakes. I'm looking on the monitor too to see. It's so hard to pick out glitter, but maybe when she photographed it. So when it twinkles, because the snowflakes has like that weird, cool, iridescent glitter, there's, yeah, you can see the mica flakes from snowflakes, but also see there's like a little blue and green, purple, and even some of the gold and orange. It just really works for Halloween. And so she used that on the alpine trees that she colored black. And then the snowflake on black just gave it a totally different vibe, which completely inspired me. I'm like, I absolutely love that. But see how she used that fringe? So hopefully seeing how the stuff is put together is cool. And then of course we've got the paper doll. There's a little mask from the sticker book. She used some clippings on that baseboard sign, but like, that's a fun make. You can make this, you can do it. You can just get the stuff and start. Maybe you don't want to do a double decker. Maybe you want to make different ones, but use your stuff and just enjoy the creative play, the creative story of it all. I just think it's such a great make. And really, I'm going to be sugaring jack-o'-lanterns for days now because I love that. You can ask Paula. I was like, I had to Zoom with her yesterday. I'm like, I'm setting up and I'm seeing this, and what glue did you use? Because I love how it's worn away. And she's like, glossy accents, collage medium, I don't know, one of the two, and it worked. And she's right, it did work. Fabulous. Okay. Next, we'll talk about vignettes kind of in a little different way, and that would be these. So these I shared, this was the Hoopla last year. So these are done using vignettes, but just to create, I'm just gonna lay them down at first just so you can see them. I did make this one new this year because, well, I'm a huge fan of Wicked and I needed something for, because I wanted to. That's it. I don't need to even explain, right? We make because we want to, and as creatives, we know, because some people are like, why'd you make that? Because I wanted to. So these are vignette boxes that are rectangular. So vignettes also come in these rectangular packs. There are smaller ones in here, so you get 4 in this one. Of course, the square comes with 3. So fairly this equal in size from the largest one, but I love that we have smaller ones. And smaller ones are sometimes challenging. So what I did is just covered them with backdrops, did a little splatter painting, a little distressed crayon. So I'm just using the outside because then you can just stand them up. So what's nice about this is from a decor piece, it's a great gift because, you know, whatever the size is, they can just stand up on the area. Here I used, of course, the trick or treat. I added some candy. This one doesn't light up. Made little party hats because I think last year and the year before I was in these little making party hat mode. And pom-poms, you guys remember that? There's some of that black fringe, but I didn't mind the black fringe on this one. There's the broom, so we did that. And then this of course is the gravestone. Grunge it a little bit with some crayon. There's a skull, glue some moss, some bones. There's a little spider that I tied around, boo to you. And then of course, Wicked Elixir. So Wicked Elixir, those are the bubbles for Halloween. So you can color those with alcohol ink. Just put them in a cup or a bag, a couple of drops of alcohol ink, and there you go. But I love that we had the skull and crossbones. I love that new spiderweb paper that came back in backdrops. And these are all glued with glossy accents. But some things to point out that I included some everyday elements in. So some everyday elements, well, typography. This is everyday. So these are resin letters. You can see you get multiples of the different letters. There's a whole count in there. 73 different pieces for typography, so you can spell out a lot of things, including those little stars. And I love because, see, they're dimensional and they're wonky because they are inspired by old menu boards. So even if if the original letter was a little melted, we went with it. So as I was saying, the dimension of this, I love the fact that it's really deep, and there's the wonkiness. You guys already heard, you just didn't get to see, but now you get it, the wonkiness. So typography, that's everyday. The other thing, you know, it's even as a designer, out of sight is out of mind. I totally forgot these are part of the everyday line. These were once Halloween and now it's everyday. So I would have to say that they're probably not long because if I haven't used it for years, you know, maybe you guys haven't either, but I love that they're little corked, little science lab flasks. And so I I love that I kept those loose in there, but also glued the bubbles. So that's just a fun thing. So if you are looking for something a little sciencey, or you're doing something for display, or even you want to put like some little dried or dead flowers or something in there, very, very cool. So that's something to keep in mind, because I bet that these SKUs aren't something that like typically people are promoting right now because it's not Halloween for the Halloween release, but I bet a lot of shops have these. So if they have them and you want to create something like this, especially if you like to get your geek on, as I say, I love that. I love these little things. Okay. So far so good. Mario, Mario's like, I got to find a new spot. You are fine, man. Okay. So next up, I think I'm going to talk about this just because I've got so many ideas just to throw your way. So I hope you guys are just enjoying the show. Okay. So I did a Christmas in July workshop with Simon Says Stamp. This is a free workshop, by the way. So even though the class was over, you can go back and rewatch it. It's on Simon Says Stamp YouTube channel. But we did a Christmas one, a Christmas in July. And I just made these yesterday just to show you that everything that you learn throughout your creative career, just remember that if you like something, you can apply it to whatever it is you want with those ingredients. You don't have to be given permission for that. You don't have to see a class. If you like an idea, then spin that idea. So I really followed the same cadence as like everything else where it comes to kind of create these types of makes, right? So we start out with the little shakety shake. So I used, Micah, I just tinted this with black alcohol ink because I wanted to use the same shakety shake. You could use beads or whatever, but I was trying to stay pretty legit. Tinted our paper doll. Love that. Thanks again for the tip, Paula. Did the same thing with the sellotape and ephemera. So I just used Halloween ephemera for this card. There's some jute string on that card. Then of course, that little slotted tag where all of these pieces come out. Yes, I have Starbucks Halloween card. I have a lot of stuff. We've been there, done that on the gift cards, but all these pieces are removable. Use layers and ephemera, sellotape, and then I used just the sticker for Happy Halloween. I inked the tag and then used that little slotted die. And then of course, like on my paper doll, see, just used a little bit of foam tape and just stuck those bat wings on him. So he's kind of fun. So if you liked making these for Christmas and you want to make Halloween, get out your stuff. You already already know how to make it and create it. So this, I created that small little collage tag. This was inspired by a maker. She's on Instagram. I think it's Rika, but I don't know her Instagram name, if anybody does. But she sent me a card where she had like, she was taking her bats for a walk, and I was like, oh, they're bat balloons. But no, really it was like she was taking her bats for a walk. And I've always loved that idea. And so of course, in this year's ephemera, we have a lot of these little bats. And so I just did the same thing. This is a new paper doll. So I did the little collage on that small tag using collage medium. And then I just used foam tape and some string. And then his transformation from mortal to vampire, because I just thought that little clipping sticker was totally fitting. Okay, very, very cool. And then the frame. Now, as luck would have it, yes, the craft store has the same black frames as they do in white. And yes, the baseboard window in the Halloween baseboard fits the sides of the frame. How? I have no idea. I have no idea how the red one worked for Christmas, and there is one in Halloween. So followed kind of the same idea, had some of that pine. All we did is twist it together, and Mario went and spray painted it black. So that's how we got black pine. Used snowflakes on it after seeing Paula. I was going to use black glitter, but I'm like, dang, I love how the snowflake looks. I used alcohol ink on the silver balls that I had from the kit left over. So they're, and you could buy these. So I alcohol inked them purple and green for Halloween. Stained the ribbon, drippy candles, added a little skull because, well, it's Halloween. Added some confections because it's Halloween. Little transparency in the back. So this just shows that when you like doing something, because really so many people have made from that Christmas class, and I love the inspiration. I've seen a lot of people just go and shop at their stores and just buy up stuff to collage and make. If you're in Halloween mode, you just buy those same ingredients and you apply it the same way, okay? So that is the most important thing to create and do, is just get the supplies. And remember, those classes are free. So even if you didn't get the kit, just like Halloween, if you didn't get the kit, the supplies are there. Get the supply list from the website and go shopping and buy the stuff and make when we do the class, the Halloween class in October. Not this class. The class we're doing in October, now that I'm talking about it, is this one. So this, all the elements, I love the idea of all of those, all that collage stuff. All the ephemera. There's the doors with the shattered. This guy's not glued in because we light him up, but confections and bottles and skulls and all sorts of fun, cool things. Now's the time to stock up, and you can still do the class, because yes, the kit sold out, but you are able to create the stuff. Fun. I can't wait. See, Haunted Memory. You know I used it. I do love that. But see, if you don't like Haunted Memory, that's going to come in your kit. Now you know that you can go get that other pack with the other ones, Bone Collector or Curious Things or whatever. Anyway, okay, let's keep going. Let's keep going into the world of randomness until the camera changes. So this is an oldie, and I was debating on whether to bring it back or not, just to show you, but I loved making this and I kept it, and I rarely keep things that I made. But this was a piece of ephemera that we actually brought back this year in the pack, and I just love her because it's kind of like a fortune teller. It just has a cool creep to it. So, and it reminds me of like an old circus poster. So I love that. This is a vignette box that I did. These are frames that we did, but there's the bat. So we had that years ago. I love the bat, drippy candles in there. And then this is just taking a glass ball and making, and I did this in a video. I honestly don't remember when, but it's using, these were the snow globes, but it's just a glass ball, the purple tiny lights. And then that's just like cotton batting shoved around the tiny lights to diffuse where the lights are. That crazy cool. But that was just fun. See, there's the eyes. So a lot of stuff, that's what I'm saying, like it's timeless. When you have the stuff, you could probably find a little plastic ball or an ornament or something now that or maybe you have one of the idea-ology snow globes and you haven't done anything with it. But that's a fun thing to do. And then, yeah, I had a great time. I love making, and I love seeing inspiration that keeps coming back. All right. Let's do another vignette. We've got vignettes, we've got books, we have all sorts of things, but I love the idea. So this is a classic one that Paula did. So this lights up. Look at those green tiny lights. So this is the vignette square box. So this is just one of the largest one. I love that she's got, wow, this is like fabric. This is wallpaper. I was like, I feel that texture. This is worn wallpaper. See, I missed it already. Then she's got the green tiny lights, so we'll keep it lit up. I love how she's got the little paper dolls. So these boards, these came back this year. That little piece, I love that little fortune wheel in the back. See, I love how she put the skull. So that's the skull from the sticker book she put on his sweater. So good, right? There's a seal, but it was this idea that like stole the show, okay? So take a look at those apples, because it was like this whole carnival for skill and amusement only. So it was like a classic carnival. She also went in, like cut out she added the little drapes and colored that. But look at these apples she did. These are bubbles that she went in and alcohol inked. And there's a tutorial for this on her blog. So Mari, if you can do the tutorial for this on Paula. Paula has tutorials for really her makes. Like it's the one with the apples and the boys, like the amusement one.
Yeah.
Then she went and cut out little paper leaves and then glued little sticks to that and put it in the barrel. So the barrel, that is part of the idea-ology everyday line. It started out Halloween. So if you don't like the cauldron, you can do the barrel, but how cool is that, just bobbing for apples? This is one of those makes that I've always wanted to do, so I'll probably do that this year because I just thought the idea is so clever, especially if you put it around, you know, all of your other Halloween mimes. And there's one of those little shape seals. See that skull and crossbones shape? I love that. Just cool and fun. Little etc. trim on the top. Very cool. Cool piece. Yeah, we used to have that little sparkly trimming. All right, but you can use now the new fringe up there. Who knows? Ideas, right? All right, just moving this stuff off to the side. Okay. This is another make that Paula did, and she has a tutorial for it. And I think it's something to be said, you know, when it comes to looking at things, because the box that we're going to do in class is the same box that Paula used here, because essentially what it is a vignette, but this one is called the card file because it is designed to hold cards. But I used it just standing up because now it was a vignette with built-in shelves. So that's why I used it for that. But the tutorial that Paula shared is so cool. And I remember when she first started sharing it, she kind of did this in a series, and so many people were inspired and making, and that is what it's all about. We love that. Thanks, Mario. So this, of course, is the card file, and then she's got all of these cards. Now, we have these in the idea-ology line. We have all of these file cards that you can get. They're already pre-cut, pre-punched, all of that, and now you just get to decorate them. So she used the transparency here. You can see all these little cards that pull out. There's the collage strip with the photo on there, the ephemera, the sellotape. You can use stamps. There's so many different elements you can use. Adding backdrops, the little mini clips. You can add your own tags, clippings, and again, you can do collage paper or stamping. Just using any of your paper elements. This is one of those projects that you can just start and just create. You can make. And there's some people that really even just do a card file and they cut a bunch of these small cards and they just make a bunch of cards and fill it with cards. And then whenever you need, like, they've got birthday cards or get well cards or whatever, then when you need a quick little card, yeah, it's not an A2, but it's a small little card that you can jot a note and just send it off or just gift to people. So, but I love just the details that Paula puts into things. So you even do some stitching in there, the collage, and then take a look at that. This is the accordion. Uh-oh, I'm supposed to do something. Oh, there we go. I'm supposed to just open that up. See? Okay, back to Paula's makes. So then we have, that's collage paper. So another cool thing to note when you're creating, if you have stamps, you can use it, but that's one of the great things, and you're gonna see in another make that she did, the collage paper. I love the idea that when it comes to working on dimensional things, if you use collage medium, it just looks as if you stamped, because the collage paper, although it starts white, it goes translucent when you have collage medium, so it's very, very cool. So just some different elements, and you can, again, add little bits of collage over the back. And when you create this, and I think the tutorial also really speaks for itself, she talks a lot about repetition, like essentially taking the idea, the design idea, and then just implementing different elements to shake it up. Like that's, you know, that same cutout, but now she used a piece of the shattered transparency instead of the spider web. She's got the same pocket with the tag that comes out and the flashcards. So I do love the tutorials, and there's so many makers. This is another great thing, is there's so many makers that have made for seasons past, but in the actual season, we're too busy to create posts maybe in real time, but since then have added a lot of posts. So it's always great to go back and just check out what they've done. Look at that little masquerade sticker on her face. Very cool. There we go, little stamp. So just cool elements. And I think that as you're making, even if you're just using it as a technique guide, where you're just saying, oh, I'm going to just play around with little collage elements or collage techniques. This is what's great about having the card file, is that you do get to make little works of art. But then if this sat out as a decor piece, somebody that's, you know, visiting can pick it up and just start going through things. I think it's awesome. So great make. I was happy when Paula's like, you know what, last Halloween, because typically Paula sells her makes, you know, following lives, and she's like, would you believe that I didn't sell any of my Halloween stuff last year because I loved it all? I'm like, it was meant to be. It was meant to come back for us for an encore appearance. So very exciting. All right. Here's another make that Paula created. This is a new make that she did this year. I love it because it just shows the possibilities of vignettes. So again, we're going back to the vignette squares. So instead of stacking them on top of each other, kind of like a cake, she used 2 boxes and stacked them this way. There's that new window. Yes, there's tiny lights in there. Look how she's got it. Look at those creepy little boys in there, glowing green. Oh, behind that shattered transparency. Curious, and then the bones in there. It's like they're trapped in the attic. But you see how cool that piece is? It gives it such a great illusion. I absolutely love it. And then down here, she's got backdrops. There's the stickers that I was telling you about. And see how she layered that? So you can just dimensionalize this with chipboard or foam tape, where you just add the frame on a higher layer, or you can keep them the same. I also love it. She took an adornment, added it to the tombstone, kind of grunged it black, and look at the toadstools. Oh my gosh. The toadstools are so fun. Let's see if I brought in a pack. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. I did. Also part of every day. Would you believe we have resin toadstools? Look at these grungy little things. They're so fun in so many makes. I stuck one in the little ghosty dome, but I love how Paula painted them like little poison toadstools and just added those just for that pop of color in there. Isn't that cool? There's a little insect in the back. That's entomology. So also a part of every day. So see, there's a lot of creepy things because ideology is just weird. So why not have creepy things in your everyday line like toadstools and bugs? But see, a little alcohol ink just really makes that beetle just glow. But I thought this was a cool feature, how she went in and die cut that spiderweb transparency to really just give it a little bit more of a fractured feel. Isn't that cool? So the thing about vignettes is, you know, they're designed to be used on the front, on the back, stacked, all sorts of different ways. And it's almost like just building blocks for creatives. It starts out as just that wood box that you can transform to your story. And you're going to see a lot of cool things in this live that we continue to do with it. I do love that. Isn't that great? Tiny lights for the win. There's a little switch. Oh, look at the back. Look at that. Backdrops. There's the brick. There's the cigar box. That little sellotape. Oh, this is what I was saying. So you see what I was saying about mummy cloth, where it's just like a bunch of string that it can be moss, it could be anything. When you add a little collage medium, it just like holds its shape. And I think that there is some moss under there with a little bit of that string. So it's just a cool, embellishment. That's all. It's amazing. Amazingly cool. All right. We're going to keep going. Let's see, what do I want to grab next? I think I'll grab this one. This will be quick because this is a nothing make. I made this one a couple years ago. It's just really, it's really cool. What's that?
Is that okay? Is that doing anything? Is that
Huh?
fine?
No,
Okay.
it's fine. Okay, yeah, sorry. So this one is using this is a curio clock. So these have been retired from idea-ology, but if you, and I know retailers can still get them, but I know we're not bringing them back. But it's just a black clock base. It's metal. It doesn't have any glass in the front. The back is removable, so it's very easy just to feed tiny lights under there. I sanded mine just to kind of, because it comes in like a, you know, a glossier black, so you can just sand it. And then there's that big swirly layer bullseye, and then I'll just hold it to the light so you can see. So I did the tombstones. There's a skull and crossbones in there, some skulls, some moss. I did a little bats kind of flying out on a piece of wire. And then, yeah, this is really old because this had Something Dreadfully Wicked. This was a couple years old. But just to show you that, like, maybe you have one of these clocks in your studio, or maybe you want to do something for Halloween, or you want to do something for travel, or want to do something for Christmas. These structures, as we call them in the world of ideology, these things just allow you, I think, a place to build in, right? You can just kind of create a story within that. So I think that's what makes it cool. So, all right. moving on, let's see what I want to take next. I think next I'm going to take this piece because this piece, it has that same little swirly thing. It's so good. This was just a classic Paula make. So this is also a vignette. It lights up, tiny lights. We're going to light up this little cauldron. Look at that. Look at that little ember glowing in there with little spider webs over the top of it. So this started out as a vignette tray. So vignettes, I mean, they come in so many different ones. They come in panels, trays, boxes, and maybe you didn't even realize all of these structures exist. But the trays, there's two different size trays. Paula used the biggest tray, but then she went in and added the vignette boxes. So now if you look at that, you see how the juxtaposition of it, where it stands up, but she's got where the box kind of comes out at an angle. She's got another small box at an angle, and then she took a second small box and flipped it over and used typography. And then she just grunged it up. You can grunge up the typography with paint or alcohol ink. But I love all the little backdrops, all the papering details around the edge. She's got, as I mentioned, the cauldron. There's the toadstools again, but this time she grunged them black. There's one of those little skelly tags, because I told you those little metal tags you tie on so many different things. There's our Jack. So that's why he had to come back. There's a corked vial. Again, just you can do moth and mummy cloth, but this thing, so cool. So this actually has a little hitch fastener and it just spins. So cool, isn't it? So she actually has a small little Lazy Susan that she found that she put underneath it and just added that little detail. There's some splattering all over. She used the transparent moth, and you're gonna see the transparent moth as well. These transparent moths she used in her book, but these are everyday, but amazing for Halloween. And I remember Vicky did a year where she like melted these with like a wood burning tool. There's just cool things, but I love all the details. There's entomology again, a little bug, there's some bubbles, and I love how she did the string with some nails. The nails are another thing. See, I went through the makes and I'm like, remember to get all the stuff because it's part of the everyday line. So, and when I say everyday, it just means stuff that we currently have that we sell year round. So tack nails, these are small little hand forged nails. So they just have a really cool vibe. They actually work, so you can hammer them. But see, they have a sharp point that tack into wood or even chipboard. But yeah, it's such a cool make, isn't it? I love just the colors of those bubbles where it just looks like embers. It's just awesome. So, so good. All right. Love that. So there's her Curious Things tray. But I think the idea with the tray and the boxes, very, very cool. So it's just building blocks to do whatever. All right. So moving on to the moths. So going back to the transparent moths, Paula created this book this year. So I just want to explain like what she used. So she started with the booklet folio. Booklet folio has this cover, strings, but it has these two signatures, and these signatures are already sewn together. And this is done out of mixed media heavy stock. So it's that heavier weight. It's the same paper for that. But I love this book because first she used that new baseboard Gothic window. How cool is that? She used the moths throughout the whole thing. You're going to see these moths. But then this is the Eclectic Elements fabric of Palette Halloween that also has the moth art in it on the backboard. So I love how she covered this with the fabric. And then take a look from the selvage edge of the fabric, designed to have a distressed appearance with imperfections. Because yes, on my fabric collection with Free Spirit, we have to put that on the selvage edge, because when we first launched the collection, we would have stores complain that their fabric came in stained or some of the art was worn away, and they were explaining, like, no, that's how he designed it. And they're like, I don't think so. Nobody would intentionally put a big stain in the middle. They're like, well, he would. So now that's on the edge of all my fabric. So a little backstory on that. But take a look at how she used the portraits and how she tinted it. She kind of tinted him green, and he's looking through that window through the cobwebs. Just, oh, so cool. Freaking love this. All right. So the book itself, and I hope I get this right, Pete, because she told me this yesterday. She used the two signatures. So these are the two stitched pages. She did all of her inking and her collage and stenciling, but she essentially used the two signatures, glued the two pages together, but then cut these shorter, see, shorter than the rest, because the middle, she made a pocket. So essentially where she joined the two signatures, she just glued the ends, cut it short, so there's a pocket in there that essentially closes the whole size. So she didn't really use this cover piece, so that's a bonus. So there you go. All right. Is Heavy Stock going to come back in full sheets? That's a Ranger question. I hope it does, but I know that they're having trouble getting the same paper sourced. So that is what I know. I hope it comes back though. So on this book, let's just open it up and take a look. Look at this creep. So all of the detailing, like when you see these big backgrounds, this is where the collage paper really shines. Mario, can you hand me that collage paper, please? It's a pack of the black and white collage paper that I gave you.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. yeah. So the cool thing about collage paper is that if you have a stamp, you can certainly stamp it. No, it's the flat ones. Thanks. But yeah. So you just use collage medium. You can go in, really work that into the background. You can do all of your inking, staining underneath it because it is completely translucent. Then you can add all of your elements, your ephemera, add your tape. I love how she put on the transparencies. Then she tinted those paper dolls. Again, gave him a little greenish vibe. Thanks, Mario. So this is what the paper looks like.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's like, yeah. So when you look at this, Paula does not have a YouTube channel, Diane. She doesn't do YouTube, but all this stuff is on her blog. So you can check it out. And I know Mario's put the link to her blog and Paula's in here as well. So she blogs, she doesn't do video, but the photos she does, their step outs are amazing. So here's what's great about collage paper. It does look like white tissue. That's how it starts. But when you use collage medium as a foundation and a top coat, the white becomes completely invisible, translucent. So that's why you can go, if I can find that piece, there's so many cool elements in here, so many different pieces of art. And there are some, a lot of this was inspired by stamps. So you can, of course, we have even ephemera. There's a cool little manor. Let's see, am I gonna even find that piece? Probably not, that's all right. You can layer, you can stencil. See, there's our bugs. I'm sure I'll find it in here. It's when I'm not looking for it. There we go. See? Pretty crazy how it transforms, right? Especially when you put that glue, everything just becomes darker. It's a cool product. I love how she tints. Look at that. They were just ordinary people. And just layered that on the frame. Again, entomology. The tinting, remarkable. Remarkable work tinting. I love the little bits of tape. There's some more tinting on here. And Paula did share that she uses a workable fixative on these after she tints them because she puts it in a book and she doesn't want the color kind of scratching off. So that's very cool because I was like, the texture on it is really, it's almost like a matte finish, and she's like, it's just quick. So yeah, I'm sure she'll be doing a tutorial on this. Love that. I love the moth. There we go. There's that card. Yay, you used it, Paula. I didn't use it. And I was like, man, I should have used it. I wanted it so bad. Thanks for using it. I love how she even, oh, look how she grunged the back of it and then did the sewing. Isn't that just a cool piece of layer? It's just neat. Maybe he's a detective. I don't know. Maybe he's a criminal. Who knows? He's cool. What a great surprise. I'd never even pulled that out when I was setting it up. I'm like, I know there's a pocket. Oh, this is cool. Look how she stitched those transparent moths, just have those together and just attached them with the sellotape. Beautiful. That piece of ephemera came back. It's one of our favorites. I love the detail work of that. So good. Love that. Look how she did the moth on top of just the coloring. The purples and like the green skin is so good. Doing her best to conceal herself. So witty. Yeah, love the little layers. Just any of your scraps of like the, just using the transparency. When you cut that, just use your scraps for that. And then this is just an added piece. So this is just kind of glued on and tucked in. Oh, look, he's fabulous. Little hat. I love how she cut the little hat there. Yeah. Took away the only thing he ever loved. Yeah, I love his little flowers. Isn't that just great? So just utilizing, and even if you don't have a book structure, the ideas here is just take your tags, take your background papers, take whatever, take your inks, take your stencils. If you use collage paper or stamps, just kind of mix it all up and just create something just for you. Or these could all be, if you're like, look, I'm not a bookmaker. These are all cards then. That's a card front. That could be a card front. Add a sentiment, add a charm. This is all about inspiration. What is she using to color the dolls? Alcohol ink? No, she uses distressed crayon. So distressed crayons to tint the dolls. Love that. She's used a lot of stuff. I've seen her tint with, and correct me if I'm wrong, P, but I've seen like back in the day you were tinting maybe a little bit with ink. I know you've done pencils, but I think crayon is ultimately kind of your jam. She's just like absolutely brilliant in how she does it. So good. So good. I can't wait for that to show up on her blog, because I just love to watch the process of how people create. It's just so inspiring, isn't it? And I love that she did the book, and I love how she incorporated the fabric and of course the new baseboard. Thanks, Mario. Brilliant job, P. Brilliant. All right. Next up, let's see. What am I going to grab next? Let's take this. We only have a few left. That's good. We're doing great. Okay. So next I want to get into how you can kind of construct and deconstruct some of the vignettes. So this is called the divided drawer, although Paula and I call it a cheese box all the time, and then we get confused and we actually have to really remember what it's called. But this is a vignette that actually has these dividers that are removable. So these pieces actually slide out, so you can reconfigure this. So we say it's a cheese box because it kind of has that long shape. So these are removable, whereas the ones in this card file, because it was designed to actually hold cards, these are built in, so you can't really remove these, okay? That's what makes this one really fun, because you can have, there's 3 compartments, or you can remove one and create like a bigger area and a smaller area. And I love how, and there's several using this, so that's why I wanted to kind of put all these makes together. Absolutely love it. So this one, she just painted this black, distressed it, and then she has this little top shelf. I love how she's got that old school trick or treat. See, there's her, see, how did I miss that glitter last year, Paula? I only saw it on the new one this year. There's the bones. I love how she did a little black. There's using that baseboard window, you know, that big door piece. You can cut these up. Just use a craft knife and just cut off the pieces or components that you want from that window. I love that. Again, I love how she uses the alpine trees. Grungy, she covered them like just in some spider webs. There's little bats on there. Can you see little sparkly bats? There's the palette from that piece of baseboard. There's some of the insects back there for the layers. There's the toadstools in black. There's the skull. So get your paint out. You know, if you don't like the colors of any of these things out of the package, just create that. So I just think that's really cool. She made this, after live of 2024. Well, then I don't feel so bad. But I'm like, how did I miss that? So yeah, it's a cool way to incorporate this box. And then she just added a piece of wood. You can use vignette panels. We used to actually sell just vignette panels. It could be a scrap piece of wood, but if you want it to stand up, especially if you're going to do this, it is recommended that you at least do a little bit larger base, especially if you have something top heavy to fall over. So yeah, you can just use vignettes. Or if you have any vignettes that you've popped apart, because I've broken apart many vignettes to get a little piece of wood or a shelf, that's cool. Then she made one for this year. And so this year, like, yeah, you go from just black to just this collage magic. All right, this is what it looks like, okay? But I want to just give you a little close-up tour. So these are the Halloween collage strips. What's nice about collage strips is you can incorporate them and then you can still add ephemera over the top of it. You can cut them apart. She used some sellotape there. Oh, look at that. I love how she added that little tombstone from the graveyard in the back. So her base, instead of just doing a flat piece of wood, she just used one of the smaller vignette boxes, turned it upside down and created a base. I like that. So it really gives us some great depth. Then she's got one of the new word plaques, Curious Things. She's got the little broom hanging on the side. Oh, Condemned. Oh my gosh. Because Broom's collage strip, the little witch face woman, Condemned, and then she added the broom. That's very, very cool. This is a old school finial. We used to have these little wood finials. But let's take a look. I have to kind of tip this to the light so we can see the detail. There's a little jack-o'-lantern. I love the tiny books. We're going to talk about those in a little bit. There's a little glass dome with the bones. That's another thing to talk about. I have those here. Part of the everyday. These are called mini. So mini display domes are just like the glass domes, but obviously much smaller. You can use these in vignettes to put eyeballs and bones and flowers or whatever it is you're doing, or Christmas. I know right now we're getting our creep on, but all of these ideas like this can make a beautiful little snow globe with, you know, candy canes and white glitter. Just very cool for Halloween though. Little alcohol ink. I see like a little green slime in there. Then we've got, there's the conservatory pieces. She made a little bird bath. It's kind of a, she told me it's like a little styrofoam ball that she cut in half and made a bird bath in there. It looks all dried up. It's so cool. But I love how she used black paint on both conservatory pieces. The drippy candles, the candle stands. I don't know if the light's going to pick it up, but she added a little bit of like stickles, like a little platinum glitter, so the candles look like they're lit. Just a little bit. I don't know if you can see it. It's so cool. I love she used a sticker in the back. Again, there's the spider web. These are the planks. She has a tutorial for these because I asked her about it yesterday and she sent me the link. It's so cool because these planks, these baseboards start out brown, but I was like, how did you get black ones? And she's like, you just paint them and sand them. And then they're the tack nails. But see how it just looks so condemned under construction? So I love the idea of using those pieces of chipboard and using those little nails. And then we've got that bucket. This time she did green bubbles. But do you see how it looks like it's illuminated when it hits the light? There's no tiny lights in here because I'm like, I don't know what I'm seeing. And she's like, oh, what you're seeing is I put a piece of metallic cardstock underneath the bubbles. So she has like a little styrofoam ball. Sorry if I'm blowing all your tips, Paula, but she'll share it on her blog too. But I was like, I'm a curious little 5-year-old. And then she had a piece of silver metallic cardstock, and then she added the bubbles on top of it. So when the light goes through, it reflects and it just lights up. Isn't that clever? So if you don't want to do tiny lights, super smart. I absolutely love that. Very, very cool. So just seeing so far, like the divided drawer, you can do this version where you take out that section and you have a top area, or you keep the divides in, you change the base, kind of change the way you want to kind of add these elements. I think it just tells such a great story because it allows you to treat each little area as its own vignette, kind of like a little apartment. I think that's really cool. All right. Mario is staying clear. It cracks me up. He's like, normally he's right behind me, and now he's like, I am not standing in front of the monitor. All right. So this was from last year. I got to light this up. So this was like where I remember when Paula was building this last year, she's like, I'm out of control and I'm loving every minute of it. So this was like, wow. The foundation, the middle section, that's where we started, right? So that was the piece. She used that same divided drawer. But then all of these other elements, I'll kind of turn it around just so you can see. See, all of these other elements are the vignette boxes. So she took the whole pack of 4 of those rectangular boxes, 1, 2, 3, 4, from large to small, and built onto that to create this incredibly cool, almost like a haunted attic scene. She's got a tutorial on her blog for this too, Mario, if you could put the link, thanks. But amazing because like each piece is its own work of art, right? Each piece is so cool. But the fact that you could put them all together to tell a bigger story is phenomenal. So here we'll start at the top. So these are what the planks look like out of the package. So if you didn't want them black, you just keep them that grungy wood. You can use tiny fasteners. I love how she used that here. Then she lit up that little window, used a baseboard window and the shattered from the transparency. Love the little drippy candle, the moths. Then she's got her little books in there. There's a glass dome. This one, I think there's bones in there too. The little curtain. I love all the little moss. I love the eye peeking out of that shattered window. I love that she gave this woman like a key, like she's the keeper to the attic. Very cool. And also love how like Paula embellishes the spines of the book covers. So you can use your little stickers and your ephemera and all of that to go onto the spine. Just fabulous make. Love the frame in there, drippy candles, tombstones. So some of this stuff, I mean, for the most part, a lot of this stuff came back, but some didn't. Like this piece of baseboard, this did not come back this year. I mean, we had to trade up, but I think we traded up well for the new windows. But I love kind of that cool hallway, little creepy hallway in there. There's the gates. So they're just used the opposite way with some grit paste. And I love how she's got the conservatory, the column, and that little pedestal with some flowers. Just cool and creepy, right? And I love that marbled paper and the backdrops. But this really shows like as you're building, if you love vignettes and you're like, oh, we need more vignettes. We really don't. I'm happy that we have the vignettes we have because they work so well together. You can create all sorts of different things. And I absolutely love how Paula told a story, and she had a good time. It's good. Yeah. So someone asked, glue all collage medium. Collage medium is life. It does metal, glass, paper, fabric, you name it, that's it. It's so good. All right. Beautiful. And the fact that, you know, when she ships it in its transit, it actually shows up. All right, we have a couple more, and then we'll see. Yeah, we're good. We're good on time. All right. So this one, this is a vignette panel, the only vignette I haven't talked about yet. This is a display panel. So the nice thing about this one, it's a large enough size that you can use it for an art panel, but you can also, it's deep enough that you can still embellish inside it. For the most part, it was designed to be used on the outside, like it is, where the other vignettes that we have, they're more building inside. But I've seen people build inside this panel. It's just not as deep as, say, a vignette box or like the divided drawer, all right? So here, Paula went in and just used collage strips, just kind of layered them down because the collage strips are just those vertical pieces. All the art is already there. I love how she used the transparency around the circle. There's that sticker in action. So remember when I talked about the witch hat stickers? Because people are like, you need to add witches. It's like, no, we're not adding paper doll witches. You make them now. You can just add a witch hat. See, that little cutout is perfect. There's a little transparent bat wings, a little masquerade mask, the tinting. There's that other little urn from Conservatory. This piece, these are etc. trim. So this is like it's a thick board. So it's not wood, but it's not chipboard. It's just a heavier board from Stampers Anonymous. You can die cut these. A lot of retailers sell this because it comes in different surface finishes, a little pinked edge, a little scalloped edge. So this is just a great piece to create a shelf, and it comes in different widths as well. And then she just added the clipping stickers onto those baseboard signs. Isn't that cool? An abandoned house overlooked the city. No one would bother them there. And then there's one of those little word plaques. I love the skulls stacked up. And then, of course, the flowers. These were Idea-ology bouquet. They've sadly been retired. Oh, look, there's the owl. I just noticed that. There he is. See, that's a figure stand. Validation, but too late. He's gone, but I love him. And I love how you painted him, Pete. I love the eyes. Gosh, that's cool. See, even seeing these again, it's like seeing them for the very first time. Because the makes are just so, they're just next level with detail. I love that. So that is a display panel. And then the other make that I made this year, I did this display panel just because I was so inspired by this window, like I couldn't not make with it. And
I had so much fun making that.
I love this because I wanted to make a little, it's like a little atrium conservatory, just so inspired by a scene in the Haunted Mansion. So it has tiny lights in it. So this is a vignette panel as well. Obviously mine's a lot grungier. That's just my jam. But I took collage strips, and then because the collage strips actually follow, I think it's 6 different layouts. So if you separated your collage strips, you would see that like it actually follows different layouts as far as how wide each little element is. So I took a coordinating strip and just cut that same element so I could layer some of the pieces. So I just glued those onto chipboard and used foam adhesive and layered those up. I used a bunch of all of these little screw heads. If you're not familiar with these, so many makers are addicted to them, including me. They're just flat screw heads. So they're just, see, they're gluable embellishments. They come in 3 sizes, but to me, they're finishers. And you don't always have to have the same size and the same, you know, flat head or Phillips, plus or minus. You just go for it. And I just grunged them up with some crayon. I used some sellotape, added some splattering. So on my conservatory, this is just a vignette panel, and then I used a square vignette box, glued it, drilled a hole through the back for my tiny lights, and I just use regular tiny lights. Another cool thing is for this window, inside the ephemera pack, there's actually this little trim piece, and it works as great like drapery if you want. Then I used the shattered, and then I wanted to create these funky, poisonous things that just, they were peculiar and curious things. I told you I love those long word plaques. But I wanted it to look like they were just busting out of the glass and just kind of growing out of this whole little area. So I've got the pillar in there. There's the other urn. There's another one in there. You can't really see it on camera. I got the idea from Tammy B where you just break it. And I know people wouldn't do it, but man, you're missing out. It's this piece that you can just take it and actually just break it. It's resin, and then you can just grunge it, but I love it's actually sitting in the window kind of like that, a little grunge, and then that's where this plant is spilling out. So it was just a cool idea that Tammy had, where just because stuff is broken and disheveled, and most people be like, I'm not gonna break it. Why? That's what makes it cool. Then the top, I wanted to create a cool little spooky scene where I used drippy candles, bunch of little tiny books, moss, the little skull, and then the spider webs are just done with a glue gun. If you've ever had strings with a glue gun, this is where you like get your jam going, right? Get your jam and go in and say like, okay, all those strings, you just start doing them intentionally, and before you know it, you've got the best spider webs around, all right? But what sealed the deal for me, because I had this idea, I knew I could do this, 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 but I didn't know what to do about the plants. So I said to Mario, I'm like, I need to go look for some plants. And he's like, what are you looking for? I'm like, I don't know, I'll know it when I see it. But I needed something small. So I go to the craft store, and this is what I bought, because I figured if I show it, people are gonna ask, and I saw that someone already asked. All right, so these are just plastic things. This happens to be like plastic rosemary. So I just cut a bit of this off, and that's kind of the thing that's like climbing around here. It looked like grass. Everything has been altered with a heat tool. Everything has been melted with a heat tool. So like these purple curly things, see how they're like curling and kind of coming out and giving it shape? It's just this thing. Maybe this was lavender. I'm not sure what it was, but I just took this, I cut it off, take a heat tool, and then it just melts, and then it creates that perfect little bend. So, because if you try to bend the plastic, it's just gonna come back. So use a heat tool on that. These little kind of dusty things, these were kind of creepy. I used a heat tool here. They kind of shriveled up like they were dead, and they're all back in there. You can't really see them because of the reflection, but like there are all these little dead things. But I knew I wanted a fern. So this, you just get a fern leaf. They had this cool frosted fern, and if you take all of the pieces off of the fern leaf, you just build your own fern. So that's what I did. And obviously I have one branch, I'm going to have a lot of pieces for fern. So all you do here is just use tweezers just to hold it, because you definitely want to hold it. Use a heat tool, and again, it'll just start melting, and you get it the way you like it. And I didn't shape it. It did its own little wonkiness, and I loved it. And then I just glued in some moss. So all that little dimension is just a couple bucks at the craft store, but like this is stuff that will last for many, many makes. So when you're looking for stuff, you have to kind of just look beyond what you want to do, and stay out of the miniature aisle. I know that sounds horrible to say, but the miniature aisle, like it's already scaled, and to me it just looks, there's some good miniatures, I'm not gonna lie, but if you just go into the everyday stuff and just look a little closer, and the possibilities as a maker of what you can do with ink and a heat tool and all sorts of things, like it's pretty darn cool. But yeah, I just love that. I've always wanted to, and it's going to be a creepy piece. I'll probably just keep this in my studio year round, because it's creepy. And I love the crackle. That's just paper, so you don't even have to do the finish, but it's definitely peculiar and curious things, much like my brain. So that is the ideology inspiration. But what I thought is, because I've talked a lot about tiny books and we get asked about it, I thought I would do a quick demo to show you how I do the tiny books. So if you guys still want to stick around, we're going to do a quick little tiny book demo. It shouldn't take too long. Just want to show you. So I'm just going to set up some stuff real quick. I just scooped off the books on the plate. All right, let's see. I got my mat here. So far, the camera's behaving, Mario. I know Mario's he's a little panicky. He's like, no, here, can I hand you this? Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, I'm just gonna get out my supply tray. So I've got my glue gun. Just gonna fire that up, because I do mine with a glue gun. Now, the thing to know about tiny books, and I'll just tell you, if you Google, they are fun to make. If you Google tiny books, you'll see that there's a lot of makers that have already shared tutorials. They all have different ways to do it, and do what works for you, okay? I don't think there's a right or wrong way to do it. You have to really do what is just going to be the easiest for you. So I just did the way that I found easiest for me, okay? And I'll talk about the ingredients like as we need them. There's many substitutions that you could use for this. So at the end of the day, you do you. All right? Very, very important. So as I mentioned, I'm just going to take this stuff off the tray just so I can get rid of this. There we go. Okay. As I mentioned, there are 18 of these mini book covers, these tiny books in the ephemera pack. Now, we've had these books, they come in the Halloween pack and the Christmas pack. I think maybe when they first started, we had 6. I think last year, maybe we had 10 or 12. And this year we did 18. And people have asked for entire packs of book covers. That's just not going to happen. I couldn't get that idea past Advantis. But you really, this is a lot of books, believe it or not. Like 18 mini books is a ton. Okay. And I've seen, you know, downloadables where you can print your own, but I love the quality of this and just the vintage vibe. And they're different sizes, but I'm going to try to break it down for you as easy as possible. Okay. So what you're going to need is you're going to need your book covers. You're also going to need some book paper. Now, book paper could be anything. It could be, happens to be from an old dictionary, but it could be from old encyclopedias, old textbooks. And I will say that when it comes to working with this, okay, you can find... Oh, no. You can find different thicknesses, and I think that when...
Speaking. Quiet, Siri.
No, not today. All right. The difference in book pages, especially if you find like older encyclopedias, if you have thicker book paper, you need less, okay? If you have thin stuff like this, you're going to need more sheets, but we'll get to that in a second, okay? So I've got book paper. I also have a trimmer. So essentially what you need to do is you need to figure out the widths of the books. And some people get very particular in here and they're like, okay, I'm going to make this and I'm going to cut individual pages. Great. You need to do whatever's going to work for you. But I've essentially figured out that in the books, there are 2 different sizes as far as height of this book. Okay. As far as height of the book, there's like 1.25 inches would be the tallest or the biggest book, and then 1 1/8 inches. And those are the 2 sizes of book covers that are in the ephemera pack. Okay. And you might say, well, that doesn't make a difference because I don't mind if the papers stick up out of the top of the book. Great. I'm just letting you know, like, those are the 2 measurements that I have written down. Okay. Then as far as the width or like the depth of the cover, it's essentially 7/8 of an inch. And that will work for either one because this technique, the way I do it, I cut off the end anyway. So this is a template that I've made. It's a piece of chipboard that is 7/8 wide. The length of it doesn't matter, but I kept all my notes on it because I keep it with my little mini bookmaking supplies so I can remember my measurements. Otherwise, I would forget, okay? So what I'm going to do is I would need to cut my strips of paper for my cover. And I'm going to do a large book. So that's what these already are. So I know if I'm doing a large book, I need 1.25 inches. Now, some people, like I said, get very particular because they want the text to face a certain way, all that. These are just decorative books. You're not really reading them, so it doesn't matter to me, but it might matter to you, okay? So all I do is I'll just start like with a, can you see it? There you go. I just start with like a mark on my trimmer that I know. Here, let me get a flat area. There we go. Because this is just going to be a square. And I just chop this first piece off. I'll use this, but I'm not going to worry about measurement. Then all I do is, if I know that I need 1.25 inches, I'm just going to count, well, 5 squares, or you can just do 1.25 inches. So you just go 1.25 inches, and you can cut several pieces at a time, right? So I'm just like when I'm doing it, because I'm not actually looking at measurements, I'm just counting squares, and I know that 5 squares is going to be 1.25 inches. And that's what I do with the sheet of book paper, just to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. This could be for a smaller book. I could take this other piece and I can continue. You get the drill, okay? So you cut yourself a bunch of strips. And I'm telling you this because when we're creating this, I like to create this in bulk, okay? Now we're gonna do this in the Halloween class, but we're only gonna be making one of the books during during the actual class. And the make itself, I used 5. So I figured if I show this now, if you have other packs of ephemera, or if you're getting ephemera, you might have a whole plate of books made in time for class, and then you're just going to get a refresher and you're already going to be done. okay? But if not, don't worry, we'll still get to make one in the class. Okay, so I've got my strips of paper. Now the book covers. The book covers really, there's no rhyme and reason. Some have an identifiable spine. Others are just gonna be, both of these have an identifiable spine. Others, let me see, I know we have some that are a little, there we go. Just like a little bit, here we go, here's a good wide one, where you're like, okay, is that whole brown area the spine? It could be if that's how you wanted your book really fat, but I just kind of said, oh, you know what, I'm gonna leave a little bit of that on each side. So there's not markings, you just kind of do what you wanna do, okay? So on the covers, I like to just take a scoring tool, I'll go into a notch. So I'm not measuring anything, I'm just using the actual notch in the scoring tool. I'll hold it a little closer just so you can see. And all I'm doing is I'm just lining up like one of those notches to the art itself. And then I'll move the book and I'll line up that art to another notch. So it never really measures perfect on a scoring tool. So don't try to make it work. Just do it. Once you score your 2 lines, then you just fold your book cover. And then you have your book. Pretty simple, right? Easy enough, I think, for the most part. So I would go in and score all of my covers, just like I did here. This is all stuff that if you do repetition, the making of the book process is so much easier, okay? If you just try to make one book, your first book's gonna take you a while, but if you just do all of this one at a time, the bookmaking thing is going to be tedious and you're probably not gonna wanna do many of them, but I'm telling you, once you start, like Mario said, it was fun. We were just cranking out books. Like we made all of these after dinner last night, just started cranking out books. I'm like, let's make some books. So you got your covers, you got your paper. Now here comes the pages part. Could you cut pages all to the size of your book? Yes. Could you cut pages and, just wanted to make sure this is on. Could you cut all of your papers and do different kinds of papers? Yes, okay. What I like to do is I'll take the strips and I already know that all of my pages need to be this 7/8 width. So I use this template. I start with the paper, and I'll even flip this so you don't have to worry about seeing the writing. I just line it up to the edge. I fold the paper right against that cardboard. That just creates the crease. And I pick it up and it's folded. I turn it around and see it's already there. Take my finger, push it against. Pick it up and it's already folded. Flip around. So I'm just making that little accordion fold. And if things get off whack, you just straighten it up. So that's the trick, to do a quick accordion fold, because I don't score all the paper, because I think scoring all the paper is going to take a lot of time. If you have excess at the end, don't worry about it, okay? Just go for it. Easy enough. So you just take that piece, push against the edge, that creates your fold. And if you're like, well, I don't want to do that, I'd rather take it and fold it, you do you. I'm just showing you, again, the way that it works for me, because I can't think. I do say that. Thinking is overrated for me. So I need to always just find ways that I can, I don't know, do something and focus on something entirely different. That's my brain. It's a horrible thing. Ask Mario, it's absolutely terrifying, because he's like, I thought you were doing this. Let's say your paper was, say, not wide enough to do another strip. The other cool thing about just using this is you can also just tear off a piece. So if you had, say, like, let's say half of that paper, depending on the size of your book, I'm telling you, just use it and rip it off. So it doesn't matter if your Ziggity Zag has 3, 5, 6, none of that matters, okay? So once you have all of your papers folded, you'll have a pile of these, and you can, depending on how thin your paper is, you can probably fold a couple at a time. All right? You can take, maybe 2 sheets and do the zigzag, but you're gonna want them separate when we go to make our book. All right? So far, so good. Mario, are we doing okay? I'm trying to watch the chat and I wanna make sure that I don't lose anybody.
Yes, you really have helped a lot of the blocks compared to the way they were doing them.
Okay. All right. So let's just say we're gonna do, I don't know what book I wanna do. I'll do this. Let's just do the grungy book. I like this grungy book. We'll do this one, okay? It's big, it's a bigger book. You can do any of the covers. So the covers are white. So some people like to cover these, right? If you want a heavier book, this is just cardstock, but if you want it thicker, I've seen people like glue this onto craft stock. I think Zoe Hillman like glues it onto Idea-ology craft stock, cuts this, so her book cover is like a heavyweight book. You might want a hardback book. I don't do any of that, but you absolutely can. So if you want it thicker, go for it. You need to kind of color just the inside edges because if the book sits open, you want to have a little bit of grunge in there. But I don't really worry about the whole, let me find one that I did just to show you. Like the inside is totally white right here. I only grunge the outside edge that you're going to see. But again, you do what works. You can use an ink tool. You can do distress. You can do oxide. You can do whatever. I use pumice stone crayon for books because it just creates this really dirty old vibe. But again, you can use whatever color, whatever medium you have. So I'm going to take a crayon and I'm just going to draw a line on the edge and I'm going to smudge, draw a line, smudge, and I'm just kind of smudging into the cover itself. Okay. But be careful, don't work in the sludge because then you'll cover the book. You might want to grunge your book, that's fine. That's all I do. Not much. But like I said, if you wanted to cover the whole entire thing, great. I'm just telling you the way I do it because sometimes I would spend so much time inking the inside and then it's never to be seen again. And you're like, well, I'm so glad in my heart, I know I did a beautiful blending job in there, but you don't have to worry about it. Okay. This stuff right here, you're going to want to clean up. Okay. Okay. Can you show the template again? Oh, I'll show it again. There you go. 7/8 wide, and those are the heights of the book covers. So this is not something that this chipboard is. It just reminds me when I'm cutting my strips. If I'm doing small books, I want the strips 1 1/8, and if I'm doing large, 1 1/4. But 7/8 wide is my template for chipboard. Length of it doesn't matter because you saw how we were folding it. I just did it long enough that I could actually hold it. There you go. Perfect. Okay. So yeah, you want to get rid of that sludge. Okay, so here's the book part. Are we ready? I'm going to take my pages and I'm just going to gather these pages up. Now the pages, so for example on the book, if you wanted to do a longer cut, maybe instead of cutting these pages this way, you wanted to cut them longer and you have a longer accordion, doesn't matter, right? Meaning, you know, how we were cutting just this way on the paper, but if I wanted to have longer strips, it didn't matter how my words were facing. That's what I was saying at the beginning. Cut your paper however. It doesn't matter how many zigs or zags you have. If this was one long strip, go for it, okay? You're just gonna start gathering these strips, and if you have two that are stacked together, separate them. And you're just putting these together. You're just stacking them one on top of each other. It doesn't matter which way it starts. Because I know a lot of times when it comes to doing this, we want to overthink every step. We're like, well, what about this? Well, what if I needed this? I get you. I'm there with you, but don't overthink this. But you can see how quick you can consume this pile of paper. Because when Mario was scoring, he's like, oh, it's a lot of papers. How many more do you need? I'm like, well, that's for like one book. So we're going to need more. Here's what you do. When you stack your pages, depending on the width of your spine, you need to put these in. When you close the book, if your book is not full, like how this is not full, you need more pages. It's just that simple. So how many pages? It's totally up to which book you choose and how full you want your book to be, okay? So we're just gonna add these. Are these in the kit? Yes, the ephemera is in your kit and you have one book page. So we'll make one. All right, so that looks about right. You know, I don't need to overstuff it, but see how it seems to fit right. Do not worry about this part, okay? Because this is one of the narrower covers. If I did, say, one of the wider covers, you know, like that'd probably, see, work a little bit better. So it doesn't matter. That's why I chose this one, because that 7/8 inch, it's gonna be different depending on the cover that you choose. All right, so once you have your stack of paper, here we go, ready? We're gonna decide what I want on the front. That'll be the front page, doesn't matter. I'm gonna stack this up. So meaning I'm gonna push all of these on a flat surface so the edge of this is flush. I don't care about this top part. Once I do that, I'm going to take a little binder clip and I'm gonna clip the top of it. So these are still the bottom pages, okay? Now, the reason I clip the bottom is, do you see what happens when I clip it? What happens to these pages? They flare out. We want that to happen. So what we're going to do is we're going to essentially like fuse these together, kind of like a gummed paper pad, if you will. So I'll take a glue gun and I'm going to, and I have to work quickly, so I'm just going to kind of keep going in one shot, but I'm going to just take the glue gun and I'm going to apply the glue back and forth, kind of in between the pages a little bit, making sure I go kind of end to end, but see, I'm spreading it out. Then I'm going to flip this over, grab the sides of this so I can pinch the pages together, and I'm going to drag it across the craft sheet. So it's literally flat, and I drag it across, and I'm going to still pinch the sides. I'm going to hold it here for a second, and then I'm just going to let that go. And all it's done is it's created a gummed edge. The glue, the trail of glue, is left on the craft mat. Because if you have a wide bead of glue, then when you glue this into the spine of your book, you're going to have this bunch of guck, okay? But all we did was we just created a flat gummed edge of the book. And then when you release it, you have all your pages, okay? But I'm not ready to release it yet. But just know that's it. So that's why you wanted to glue that. And let's just say for whatever reason, like you missed a piece, or you're like, oh, I didn't put enough glue the first time or whatever. It's okay. You can go back and you can add a little bit more glue, but just make sure if you do that, you go right back to that craft sheet and you do the drag and you hold it there. The reason you want to hold it there is we want the glue to cool, because otherwise if you just drag it and lift it, you're going to have all this glue like pull away from it. And all we're doing is we're like shoving it in between the pages. Does that make sense? I hope so. Okay. So then to finish our book, where's the one that we did? Here we go. We're back to this one. Now we're going to glue the book pages into the cover. Simple. So I'm going to do hot glue, again, just on the spine, and we're going to use that clip to hold the pages. Okay. So I'm just going to work again on a craft sheet. I'm just putting some hot glue. This time I'm just using the glue gun, but I have to work quick, so I don't even have time to put that away. I'm going to set that into the book, and that's why I want the clip, because the clip is going to hold the pages. Then I'm going to remove the clip and push the cover and the pages together. So I'm pushing these pages into the book, and I'm pushing the spine into the pages. So see, I get a nice little flush binding. Do not worry about this. Okay. There we go. Perfect, perfect. That's why we have that little clip in the kit. Okay, so once that's done, now we have our pages. What are we going to do with the pages? Well, the pages, depending again on your book cover, if you had a wider one, you probably don't have much overhang. But if you have one like this, you just kind of split the book into sections. You take some scissors. I just use tonic scissors. You want something that's a good chopper, and you just start chopping the pages off. Do not overthink this. This is an old book. No one's going to see it. No one's going to notice it. Flip it around. Go right up to that cover. And just chop. There you go. Now you have your own little book. And if you want to chop more, I mean, you can go in and chop whatever you want. But think about this when the book is sitting there. Like, if you have a book that's open, it doesn't have to be so perfect. So how do you like now get it grungy again? Well, the grunge goes back to the crayon, and it's going to go to a brush. So let me just grab this real quick. I just need a little bit of water. So I'm going to take that same crayon, just going to scribble a little bit of that pumice stone, and you could use whatever color. You don't have to use this. I'm going to put a little water next to it, not on it, but next to it. I'm going to use some type of brush. So this happens to be a tiny blending brush, but you can use a regular blending brush. You can use the mini blending brush. You can use a paint brush, whatever you want. And then you're just going to dip the brush in a little bit of water, go into that sludge, and you just paint the pages. See how they just become dirty? But I'm not soaking them. So could you do this with ink? Yes. Why am I doing crayon? Because crayon is opaque and it just looks a little bit more, I don't know, dirty and grungy. And then you can use your fingers and you can kind of bend the cover a little bit, and then you add it to your plate of books. Now, the thing about books is some you might want open depending on your display. Some you might want to stack, but some, let me take, where'd it go? Here it is. Some you might want closed, okay? Because when you're using them in a display, like if something's going to sit on top of it, you're going to want your book to be, well, I'll just show you these. You're going to want your books to be glued shut because you don't want everything to always spring off. So after you make your books, if you ever want a book to be, you know, just flush, then the easiest thing to do is use some collage medium because it's matte, but you can use any other kind of matte. Take a little bit of collage medium on a brush and just start painting the pages together. It's almost like, remember back in the day when we did altered books, if you ever did those where you like glued a whole book shut and then you carved it out with a knife? It's kind of the same thing. So you could use gel medium for this, you can use school glue, but any kind of glue that you could essentially paint the book the way you want, but it's going to be matte. So then even the cover, like because I want the cover to be closed, I'm just going to put a little collage medium in there and just close it. But if I still want things bent, bend them because it's going to dry however you want it to be. Does that make sense? And then you would go back to your, you have no idea like how important that little clip is, and you would just clip it until it dried. And then it's going to dry just like this as a solid piece. So I don't glue them all dry because sometimes you'll want a book kind of open, or you know, you have the page, or you might want to have some of these pages bent back. So just make books, but just know that if you're going to put it in a make where you want it done, you can do that. So that's the thing to do. It's really simple. And if you wanted it to be grungy, or you wanted to kind of skip this step, you can just mix that glue into ink or paint, and you could actually glue on with gray, because we used to have vintage collage medium, which was just tinted with antique linen. So just an option. But I wanted to just kind of give you that little rundown. I know it was a quick tutorial, but it's YouTube, so you can go back and watch this again and again, but it's easy. And if this wasn't easy for you, just Google tiny books and see different blog posts, and maybe you'll pick up different tips or tricks from someone else that might work for you. But I love the fact that when you sit down, like all of your strips are cut, then all of your strips are folded, then you have all of your covers scored, then you have them all grunged, then you just start making books, and you have, I mean, yeah, you don't need to have them in a little plate like this, but you would have a bag of books, because this way, when you're creating makes, you know, be that like the conservatory, now you can look, well, I wanted that book kind of open. This one I wanted closed because it was going to be the pillar. That one I knew I wanted flat. So it's just nice that you have these and you just start gluing them in, and you can make that choice as you do it. If you didn't want to use collage medium, could you seal it shut with hot glue? Of course. The other thing, let me find this other make that Paula did. Where is it? I saw one in particular. Oh, here we go. It was in her attic. Like, take a look at that. So see, remember, you can also like put different things on the spine. I love how she's got some papers sticking out of the top. So if they're not exactly the right height of that book, who cares? They just look cool. The whole point of these books is just don't overthink it. Just have fun with it. Okay, that to me is what's great, and that's what I also love about this year's ephemera. So